I need some music. Grand Rapids police shoot an unarmed black man in the back, prompting a new round of BLM protests on an election year. Now, this story has been fairly quiet, so we'll talk a little bit about why and what this means and where we go from that. And we will watch the video of what happened as well, so do brace yourselves for that as we go. Frank James has been arrested. Apparently he tipped himself off, and he told everybody about where he was going to be, so I have questions, but we'll talk just a bit about what's happening with that. Jen Psaki, the press secretary for the Buck Stops With Me presidency, now blames Greg Abbott for supply chain issues and massive inflation, so we'll talk just a bit about what's going on with that. And Elon Musk offers to buy Twitter for $42 billion. And again, as I said in the teaser, that is not even the big news of the day. It is going to be all this and more. You're just mad you can't date me. I am Jay Edgar. And this is Contemporary. Apparently the name of that song is called Loop 6. The artist is Funk Fiction, and those of you on the Instagram side cannot even hear what it is that I'm dancing to. So, well, I hope you enjoyed the dance anyway there. Go back and check that out. That was a that's a fun one, and of course we are running from the Video Game Study Lounge playlist as usual because it's really good and it's copyright free. So we've got a bunch of stuff to get into today. We got a lot of stuff to go over here today. And, you know, just the dumping of stuff that's coming on here at the beginning is just going on with that. So let's go and check that out. Let's get started here. But before we do, make sure you guys go check out turnsofpagesproductions.com. We are a start page right now, but we are looking at a news website that will be by the common man for the common man. If you would like to help us get started, there will be a Give, Send, Go that will soon be publicized out there. It's been there for a while, but, you know, with the whole government name thing, I've been wary to come back out and put it back out there. But you can go and check out the website. Go check out the great shows that are planning on being on there. The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The Porch Boys, The R-Rated Conservative. We've got another creator that we are welcoming on no matter what project she does. And a surprise program coming up as well. So go and check that out. But yeah, turnsofpagesproductions.com. If you do want to check it out and you guys are in the know, you can check out the Give, Send, Go, help raise money for Turns of Pages. Of course, the government name is up on the front, so that's why I've been wary to come back out and send that. But once that is back out there, you guys can go and help out, as Mr. Fanning has already done on a $20 donation of our $2,000 that we are seeking for startup costs for the company. So go and check that out. GiveSendGo.com/TurnsOfPages101 and help us get up and launched. One more announcement before we get in, and this is actually going to be announced again at the bottom of the program, so we will save this tab and come back to it later on. Probably right before we do Thing I Like and Thing That I Hate, which I've got a good pair for the day, Thing I Like, Thing I Hate. Also, by the way, go tell some friends because tomorrow is going to be the day that we read live chat. So we also come back and thank everybody who chatted in the live chat throughout the week before. So if you get in and chat and at least get one name in, whether it be on Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, DLive, I can see it all. Whether you get onto any one of those platforms, you can come on over and check that out. And hey, your name will get read on the air because I very much appreciate when you guys come over here. And you guys have been busy this week. We have creeped almost to 15 viewers cross-platform, by the way. Let's see, can we crest that this week? Well, you'll have to tell a bunch more friends. Definitely go and check that out. I'd love to see 15 on the bottom of here. And as I say, I can see who's all cross-platform on the ones that are coming off the computer. Plus, I can add in what's going on. But yep, right there. That's how many people are there. If we can get that number up to 15, I will be hugely appreciative. So go and go tell some friends. Get some more people coming in here. Let's get going. Let's get started. But, well, I'm already getting going here. I wanted to come back and say this. I have made the announcement yesterday. We have a date to be determined. I've got to reach out to my co-host and see, because she really wants to help out with this. We are going to wait for the fall, but Suicide Prevention Stream 2 is coming. So, at this point, go ahead and start telling some people, get some names in the ear, get some quarters in my ear. Let me know which people I should reach out to, and reach out to the people that you actually want to see on that. I know there's been a lot of talk about me collaborating with Monica Perez. I would love to have her on for that. If you guys can reach out to her and let her know for that. That'll be coming up here. Once I have a date, we'll start getting into this and we'll start announcing names of people who are going to be here. But I'm going to wait for the fall because as far as a... especially since we're going to do it on a Saturday, as far as a major telethon goes, I know come summer, people would rather be out there hanging out with their friends. They would rather be out there talking to people, be outside, having concerts, doing that kind of stuff outdoors. So we're going to wait for the fall till it gets a little bit colder. And then, yes, we're going to do another 24-hour telethon for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Looking very forward to that, too. That is something that I definitely want to go back and do. That is something that I'm really... You know, I had so much fun doing this last year. I got to reach out to Gina Raimondo and make sure that she's ready to come on again. I want to see, because Milwaukee's not that far away from here, if she wants to actually sit in. I'm working on setting up a new setup indoors where we can have a second person in-house. So I'm getting a mixing board and everything else to go along with that. Hopefully maybe take some of this echo out of here too, but regardless of that, that is going to be coming up 24 hours this fall. Probably late September, I think is when we're going to do it. So watch for announcements on that. And again, if there's anybody particular that you want to see on this program, tell them and tell me. Twitter DM, Discord, Gilded. I'm very accessible. And then, yeah, whatever avenues you have to tell that person as well. Go ahead and tell that person. So that will be coming up here. Watch for that. Let's get into the finance of the day. And again, we will go and check that out once again as we go down. Looking at the Dow had a relatively strong update throughout the day yesterday. Starting out below the close, but shooting back up and staying up throughout the day, bringing itself back up 344.23 points, up 1% to 34,564.59. And a lot of that, especially on the futures, is now also being boosted by the announcement coming from Twitter, which we will be talking about much later in the show than I thought we were going to be when I saw something like that. So let's see what's going on with that. Bitcoin has had kind of a chop saw rough few days here. Got up to 41.5 throughout the night, overnight last night. Got as low as 38,000 throughout the day yesterday, but is now back up and down to 40,904 US dollars and 90 US cents. That is down over the period that they show us here, 244 US dollars and 60 US cents, or 0.59%. And looking at the fuel, looking at Madison's gas prices, the 335s went away. We had another few stations join the 339. Looks like there is going to be a lot of speculation based on the E15 until people realize what it does to their cars and their fuel filters. So, you know, I guess we won't talk about that, but we will see what's going on with that. But looking in at that, the BP in Sun Prairie is 339. The Fleet Farm in DeForest is 339. Costco in Sun Prairie is also at 339. And then we move up into the 344 range, also into the Sun Prairie. We don't see a lot of stuff going off of the Madison proper until like we get down to the 348. City taxes are probably a part of the reason for that. But yeah, the Quick Trip and both the Quick Trips, rather, Schrader Road and Mineral Point, east and west side, are about at 348. So a little bit of a variation there, but it looks like we are seeing some fuel prices coming down. Coming up until we get to the election day, so we'll see what happens with that and where that goes. Let's read from IBD for the morning. Dow futures rise after market rally. Elon Musk offers to buy Twitter. From Ed Carson. Dow futures rose slightly Thursday morning, while S&P 500 futures and NASDAQ futures edged lower. Elon Musk offered to buy 100% of Twitter, while Dow Components, United Health, and Goldman Sachs headlined pre-market earnings. The stock market rally rebounded Wednesday, but in lower volume than the prior session. The major indices are down for the week and off sharply in April. Fortinet stock, Marriott International, Raymond James Financial, Merck, Ulta Beauty, and 5 non-commodity plays to watch. Fortinet, Marriott, and Raymond James are working on handles right around the aggressive entries. Merck could be forming a handle, while Ulta Beauty broke out past a buy point. Among the mega caps, Apple and Tesla are trying to rise with handles. On Thursday morning, Elon Musk offered to buy out Twitter for $54.20 a share, which Austin Peterson pointed out that that's got a 420 right in there, saying, I now realize the company will neither thrive nor serve the societal imperative in its current form. Twitter needs to be transformed as a private company. Twitter stock closed Wednesday at $45.85 a share. So, I mean, the people that they're going to be buying out are going to be making off like bandits. Musk belatedly disclosed a 9.1% stake on April 4th, sending shares soaring 27%. Twitter stock rose as high as $54.57 in the following session as Twitter said Musk would join the board of directors and agree to limit his Twitter stake to 14.9%. But last weekend, Twitter said Musk would not join the board. Twitter jumped nearly 7% to 49, but off pre-market highs. Tesla fell modestly, perhaps on concerns that Musk would be distracted with yet another company. On the earnings report, United Health reported better than expected first quarter results, kicking off health insurer earnings. Oh, hey, we're going back to work and your group pay is coming back in again. Huzzah! United Health rose a fraction early Thursday. It's already slightly extended from a buy zone along with rival Anthem, Centene, and Molina Health, which are in buy zones. Wells Fargo reported mixed quarter one results, while Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley beat. Wells Fargo fell modestly in pre-market trading, while Morgan Stanley and Goldman rose, and Citigroup are also due early Thursday. All were little changed Wednesday after JP Morgan Chase reported mixed quarter one results. Taiwan Semiconductor, the chip foundry giant, easily beat quarter one views and gave upbeat guidance. And we are starting to see some of the computer components come down too, so that's going to probably be starting to fuel that. We're having supply come into the market, so we'll see where some of that is going. Tesla and ANTM are on the IBD leaderboard. Fortinet is on the IBD long-term leaders. Tesla and Fortinet are on the IBD 50. Raymond James was Wednesday's IBD stock of the day and added to Swing Trader. On the futures, Dow futures rose 0.2% versus fair value, with United Health and Goldman, both Dow components. S&P fell 0.15% and NASDAQ lost 0.1%. Crude oil prices and energy futures fell 1%. The 10-year Treasury yield fell 3 basis points to 2.66%. The European Central Bank said it will end bond purchases in quarter 3 a little earlier than previously expected due to soaring inflation that could pave the way for ECB rate hikes. And remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. So that is where we go with that. That's what we see coming off the futures. Let's grab one briefly from the Wall Street Journal. Stock futures rise as earnings season kicks off. Except now they've fallen. This is from late last night. From Anna Hertenstein. Stock futures rose as the first earnings reports from major companies began to roll in and investors considered the highest inflation in 4 decades. Futures tied to the S&P climbed 0.5%, pointing to the broad market index recouping losses after it closed down 0.3% on Tuesday. NASDAQ futures rose 0.6%, suggesting gains in technology stocks after the opening bell. Shares of Delta jumped 6% in pre-market trading after it reported a quarterly loss, but it said it returned to profitability in March and expects to report a profit in the second quarter. JP declined 1.2% after it posted a first quarter profit that came below Wall Street estimates. Bed Bath & Beyond fell 1.5% after it posted a quarterly loss, saying it was hit by supply chain disruptions. Goldman Sachs, Citigroup, Morgan Stanley, and Wells Fargo are set to report earnings on Thursday, which they have. And as we see, coming through here with the futures at the very beginning of the night versus what they are now, the Dow is back all the way down to 0.1%. on a rise, and the other two indices are on a fall. So that's as much as can happen overnight. And remember, that still isn't your actual trading in the next session, so we will see what happens with that and where that goes. All right, let's look into the big news of the day. We're going to start talking about Biden. We're going to talk about Biden and Psaki throughout this, but we're going to start talking about Biden here. Reading from the Daily Wire. Where's Mr. Bananas? We're reading from the Daily Wire. It must be, hey, I'm sorry, I guess we can't read from the Daily Wire because why would anybody ever take that seriously? Biden hits lowest approval rating of his presidency in 2 more polls. From John Rigolizzo. President Biden's approval rating continues to trend downward as more polls are showing that it has declined in the lowest levels of his presidency. 2 polls released on Wednesday by CNBC and Quinnipiac showed that Biden has sunk to the lowest levels of his presidency so far, driven by concerns about rising inflation and poor economy, as well as his weak response to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. These are individual polls, and I did do homework on this, and I looked into this as well, but these are individual polls, and one of them is a poll of adults, too, so we can really, honestly, just fucking throw that one out, because it's a poll of just adults. And we will be looking at the aggregate and where that goes, because by the aggregate, he is not back to his lowest levels yet. His disapproval, though, is getting up to some of its highest levels. That is what we should be watching here, is where the disapproval goes, because approval versus disapproval, if they're still tight and close together, with a lot of undecideds, still could look somewhat good for him, but the higher that disapproval goes, the fewer the independents that he has to win over. The CNBC All-American Survey of 800 Americans taken between April 7th and 10th found that most people did not think the American economy was doing well. A plurality of respondents, 47%, said the economy was in poor condition, and another 35% said it was only in fair condition. So we're actually going to jump off the polls, and we're just going to go right to the aggregate and show you where we're sitting at right now. So this is the aggregate, as we see. These are the two that they're talking about. The Quinnipiac, which brought down to 35, and the CNBC that was at 38. But as I said, usually when you look at the sample, they'll give you the number of people that they polled, but also how those people are likely to vote coming up here. A for adults, LV for likely voters, RV for registered voters. And the Quinnipiac, I take that fairly at face value. Just kind of looking around, seeing what I see around the country, plus the fact that it's 1,256 registered voters, people who are actually registered and ready to go and vote the next time through, people who might have possibly already voted in the primaries for the midterms. And that is 1,256 of them on top of that, and that brings the approval 35% versus a disapproval of 55%, which is a 20-point spread against Biden. And that is a weight on his spread as well, which is all the way up to 11.7% in the difference. Biden's actual aggregate is 40.6% approve and 52.3% disapprove, whereas we know that he's been down to 39.8% in approval in the aggregate. But if we look at some of the other polls that are sitting out there waiting to fall off, waiting to see what's going to happen with them. We've got a couple that are actually holding him up right now, including this Economist poll, the YouGov poll, which is also a registered voters poll, oddly enough, that shows a 46 to 49 that was sampled April 9th to April 12th. And that's only a 3-point spread. And the IBD TIPP, the Investors Business Daily poll, which is adults, so we can maybe throw that one out, but that's 42 to 43 with only a 1-point spread. So a lot of things to watch here, a lot of data points to process with this, but one thing to know for sure is that in no polls that are current right now is Biden above water. In 0 polls is he actually in a positive land, and even there we can watch the chart from January of 2021, where it was approval of 55 and disapproval of 35.5, and just watch the inverted curve as it goes and goes and goes and suddenly meets August 21st of last year, and then it's just been fairly in the toilet for him ever since. As we kind of predicted. So that is what we see coming off of that. All right. So we are going to start going into the regular news with this here coming out of Grand Rapids. I've looked at this now. I've seen this. Now, what have we seen over the past few weeks? The Russia narrative has fallen off. The approval numbers are still sinking. And we see another dismal inflation report. In fact, the inflation, like the actual wholesale inflation, which will affect what people who are manufacturing stuff can buy stuff for, is 11% on the wholesale prices. And they can spin and spin and spin and say it's Abbott's fault, and they can say that it's the greedy business owners, all they want. But realistically, until you get that diesel down, and until you free up the supply chains, and until you stop printing money, we're going to continue to see this over and over and over again. So what do we pivot to? School shootings and BLM. Reading from News Channel CBS 3 out of Grand Rapids. Video show Grand Rapids police officer fatally shoot Patrick Layoya. From Emily Reed. A Grand Rapids police officer shot 26-year-old Patrick Layoya in the back of the head during a struggle over the officer's taser. The officer was on top of Layoya, who was face down on the ground when he was shot and killed on Monday, April 4th. The Grand Rapids police released videos from the officer's body camera, the police cruiser's dash camera, a home surveillance system, and a cell phone Wednesday afternoon. Two of the videos show the officer shooting Layoya from different perspectives. The officer's body camera was deactivated just before the officer fired a single shot, which could be heard killing Layoya. It was unintentionally turned off during the officer's struggle with Layoya, according to police. That is very convenient. And I really hate to see that kind of shit. The body camera video showed the officer first pulled out and deployed a taser. It also appeared to show Layoya's hand on the taser. Let go of the taser, the officer said. Drop the taser, the officer said right before he fired a single shot. One of the videos that captured the shooting up close was taken by someone who was a passenger in the car Layoya was driving when he was pulled over in Grand Rapids around 11 a.m. Monday, April 4th. The cell phone video showed the officer shot Layoya in the back of the head while Layoya was on the ground. Before releasing the video, city officials warned the videos could prompt feelings of shock, anger, and pain. Well, that's what we're here for, and this video might actually get age restricted because of this, but we're going to go watch this, and I believe a couple of the other outlets that we have here will show this from different angles as well. I'm also going to go back and get this up and open. But this is the Blaze brought this video out. It says body cam footage from fatal Grand Rapids police shooting of Patrick Layoya. Warning, viewer discretion is advised. So if you got your kids in the room, well, here we go.
Mm-hmm. 1915.
Hey, stay in the car! Stay in the car! Stay in the car! Get in the car! Dude, I'm stopping you. Do you have a license? Do you have a license?
For what?
I'm stopping you. Do you have a license?
What that?
Do you have a driver's license? Do you speak English?
Yes.
Can I see your license?
What that is wrong?
The plate doesn't belong on this car. Do you have a license or no? Do you have a driver's license?
Yes.
Where is it at?
It's in the car.
Get it for me.
What that is wrong?
The plate does not belong on this car.
Oh no. Grab me my lighter right there. Right there.
No, no, no. Stop. Stop. Put your hands right. Stop. 1915. You got one running. Northbound. Stop. Stop.
Okay. Damn.
Stop. Stop.
Okay.
Get your hands behind your back.
Okay.
Hands behind your back.
Okay.
Get your hands behind your back.
Okay.
1950. 74 cars.
Okay.
Stop.
Okay.
Stop resisting.
What do you do to him? To you?
Let go of the taser.
What's the problem?
Let go of the taser.
So that is that's a very disturbing way to come back out of this video. I want to look back at just well, let's go back and back up to where the struggle started, and there may be some other video that comes out from other angles that comes out of this, but I did want to come back and look and see exactly what it is, why he broke and why he started to run. Because it did look like he was going to be regularly cooperative as it went.
Car. Stay in the car. Get in the car.
Well, that's my first question. That was actually the first thing that I was questioning too. I mean, stay in the car, get in the car. Every time that I have been pulled over, with the exception of this last time, I have been advised to be in. I've never got out of the vehicle. Any time I've been pulled over, ever. And I have no idea why this guy is out of the car at this point either.
Dude, I'm stopping you. Do you have a license? Do you have a license?
For what?
I'm stopping you. Do you have a license?
What that?
Do you have a driver's license? Do you speak English?
Yes.
Can I see your license?
What that is on?
The plate doesn't belong on this car. Do you have a license or no? Do you have a driver's license?
Yes.
Where is it at?
It's in the car.
Get it for me.
What that is on?
The plate does not belong on this car.
Oh no. That be my light right there. Right there.
No, no, no. Stop. Stop. Put your hands right. Stop. 1915. You got one running. Northbound. Stop. Stop.
So, and that seems to be the thing that set this whole thing off into motion right there. It looked like he was going around to the other side of the car, possibly to get his license from the passenger. I'm not sure why the passenger couldn't go back and pass that. And, well, and as we saw with the Jacob Blake thing, too, I mean, this guy wasn't erratic, but still, at 1 second, somebody can have a knife and a gun in a car. I can understand where the chase came from. As far as the shooting goes, I would have to see another angle to understand what happened from the point where the body cam deactivated to the point where the shot was fired. Because we are missing some context with this particular video as to what happened in between those two events. You see what I'm saying? And now we're going to go back into the mainstream narrative of this, which is going to try to spin this the way that this goes. From M Live out of Michigan, black man's fatal shooting by Grand Rapids police is a very sad day for our city. From John Agar. Shortly after Grand Rapids police officer fatally shot a man, Police Chief Eric Winston reviewed the video of the incident. He called it a progression of sadness. For City Manager Mark Washington, it meant that Grand Rapids had joined cities where unarmed black men had been killed by police. With the hand on the taser, you're crossing the line as to whether or not he was armed. But again, I want to see what happened, because the last thing we saw was a hand on the taser pointed out into the ground. Which I call that defensive, but again, there are minutes of footage that we don't know, as of this point, you and I, what happened that I've not seen. Now, there does appear to be footage of that elsewhere, and I don't know if we'll see that while we're reviewing this the first time. Unfortunately, I'm here today because our city is now added to the list of cities across the country where another African-American man has died as a result of the use of lethal force. With the interaction of law enforcement, Washington said. Okay, here it looks like we have another video here. I'm not sure where this came from, but we're going to find out. During a press conference on Wednesday, April 13th, at City Hall, the city released the video of the April 4th shooting death of Patrick Loyoya. 26, the killing has angered many, with the officer appearing to have shot the man while kneeling over him. The deadly encounter began with a traffic stop around 8:11 a.m. on Nelson Avenue Southeast, just north of Greg Street. The video showed the officer tell Loyoya to stay in the car as the officer approached. "What did I do wrong?" Loyoya asked. So, here is another angle.
Let go the taser!
No, he ain't got no tasers. I see that.
Let go the taser!
How many cars you got going?
Drop the taser!
Everyone.
Get back!
I don't know, dude. I might have to go with an unjustified shot on that. Again, there's a lot more angle that I have to see of that.
No, he ain't got no tasers. I see that.
Let go the taser!
Because I see hand there, but I can't see what's in that hand. I see the other hand is clear, and then officer's other hand is obviously clear. So what I would need, and this is the time where we actually might need to have the John Madden zoom, the pen all over the screen and everything. I would need to see, let's actually blow this up just a little bit. What is going, I don't know why I just went to go point my pen at the screen as if you guys can see where my pen is going to be. But I guess on top of everything, before I need to say, because I can't say whether this is justified or not, before I can say whether there's a justification, anything in this, I need to know what's going on right here, where my cursor is. And it almost looks like it's blurred out from there. I am 50-50 on this. I know that some of you guys in the chat have already made your decision on this. I am 50-50 on this. And a lot of that, again, that is going to hitch and pivot on what is happening right here. Because what is happening right here at the moment that he is reaching for his other armament is going to be whether this is justified or whether... So, yeah, I've got a lot more questions. I have got a lot more questions as of this point.
Drop taser!
Everyone.
I don't know. I've got, from this angle, I've got officer's word versus witness's word. Because, and usually you can tell with the taser, there's a little bit of wash in the color, obviously, but usually you can tell with the taser that bright neon yellow. And you can clearly see that it's there under usual circumstances. This one, I can't see that it's clearly there. So, I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I have no idea. The officer told him the license plate does not match the car. Moments later, Loyola appeared to push against the officer and briefly ran. Did not see the push in the body cam footage, so I'm going to have to question that one as well. The officer told the man to stop and then said, "Stop resisting," as the two struggled. The officer repeatedly told the man to let go of the taser. Seconds later, the officer, who was on top of Loyola, shoots Loyola in the head. The officer yells, "Shots fired," and tells someone to get back. Windstrom said the shooting was difficult to watch. He said he insisted on releasing the video despite the shooting still being investigated by the Michigan State Police. He said it was important to show the community what happened. No, it was not important to show the community what happened. It was important right now because, and I mean, the first instances of everybody coming out and making their own snap judgment about this are already happening. I mean, yes, I see some of you guys making a judgment in the chat. I see some of the BLM people making the judgments on social media. No, this was not released because the public needed to know what happened prior to the investigation being completed. This was released so that we can go start to gin up more outrage. Whether or not it's justified at this point. And again, I'm not going to be the arbiter of this right now until I get a lot more information off of this. He will not discuss whether criminal charges should be filed or whether the officer, who was on paid leave, violated department policy. He said that Internal Affairs would investigate once the state police investigation is finished. Windstrom would not name the officer, who was a 7-year vet, saying that he wouldn't treat him differently than any other suspect in a potential crime. So, let's see, what else do we have here? This was not out of control, like that for the person to be shot in the back of the head, Womack said. Womack said the officer should have de-escalated the situation. He said the officer should have waited for backup if he couldn't have handled Loyola on his own. The knee does go to the back of Loyola, the gun does go to the back of the head, and he pulls the trigger, Womack said. And that's where I'm questioning. Officer clearly has the upper hand and some semblance of control off of this. Again, hand on the taser would make this a completely different thing, but I can't see that from the angle that the passenger had in this. And really, honestly, from a dash cam footage, I don't know that I'm going to be able to see this either. But I have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions. But that didn't stop the protesters who don't have any questions. They automatically know what happened with this. From Fox 17 West Michigan. Protesters hold a 4+ hour protest in downtown Grand Rapids following the video release of Patrick Loyola shooting death. From Kellen Boss. Protesters spent about 4.5 hours voicing their frustrations following the video release of the police killing of Patrick Loyola. Demonstrators gathered at Rosa Parks Circle at 5 p.m. Wednesday. They marched down Monroe Center to the police department headquarters. And they're putting the barbed wire up around the fencing around the Grand Rapids Police Department. And the protesters are right up against the barriers, too. The crowd did a march around the perimeter of the police department at one point. Fox 17's Josh Berry reports that some protesters saw police in riot gear on a parking ramp and grew increasingly irritated. The organizers of the protest seemed to move the protesters along to keep things calm. There were 2 large city vehicles that followed the back of the crowd during the marches to keep everyone safe and prevent vehicles from hitting the crowd when it was in the street. The crowd wrapped up for the night around 9:30 p.m. at Veterans Memorial Park because it got pretty fucking cold up here. GRPD said the deadly shooting happened on Monday, April 4th, after what police described as a lengthy struggle. After a struggle over the officer's taser that lasted approximately 90 seconds, the officer shot Loyola in the back of the head. Once. Cell phone video from the witness shows the officer shooting Loyola in the back of the head after telling him to let go of the taser. And we've seen the timeline, so a lot of links here as to how we got here. Still a lot of questions. I would love to see what the Ring camera was, because apparently there's a Ring doorbell that caught the whole thing too, but we have not seen that particular piece of video. We saw some dash cam right at the beginning as they were pulling away. We saw the cell phone video, we saw the body cam video, which conveniently got shut off right at the time of shooting. But again, just going back and looking at this, without me seeing what's happening right there in that hand, I can't make a determination whether this was justified or not. Not on the evidence that's put forward to me, put in front of me. And I would dare say that any investigator is going to run into the same struggles that I am. From the Blaze, protests erupt in Michigan after police released videos of black men killed during struggle over a traffic stop. From Carlos Garcia, BLM protesters took to the streets in Grand Rapids after police released video on Wednesday of the shooting death of a black man during a struggle with an officer after a traffic stop. Patrick Loyola was pulled over on April 4th after a police officer saw that the license plate on his car did not match the automobile he was driving. In video from the officer's body cam, Loyola tried to run away after the officers questioned him and asked for his driver's license. A struggle ensued where the officer used his stun gun and then shot the man. The Grand Rapids Police Department said the officer's body cam was deactivated during the struggle. While the body camera footage did not record the moment of Loyola's shooting, the passenger in the car recorded it on their cell phone, and that video was released as well. It was his cell phone, by the way. The graphic video from the cell phone shows the officer trying to control the man and kneeing him in the back while yelling at him to let go of the stun gun. After a few moments, the officer reaches for his gun and shoots once. Activists were angered that Loyola was shot from behind and in the back of the head, arguing that this proves the police officer acted inappropriately. Yo, I don't know. The officer involved has not been identified or charged in the shooting, pending an investigation. He is a 7-year veteran of the force. Some businesses in the city brace for protests by shutting down for the day and sending employees home. Chris Becker cautioned the public against hasty conclusions based on limited evidence that was released. while the videos released from today are an important piece of evidence, they are not all of the evidence, said Becker. And yeah, I keep going back to it. It is all about what is happening at the 27-second mark of this video. And what is happening in that hand. And I don't have the major zoom, the yellow pen, or anything else to come back out and try to analyze this. The way that NFL refs analyze every football or every touchdown. I don't know. And I will be the first one to come out and say that. I don't know. This is a difficult one. I am 50-50 on this one. Hey, here's a local news report about the protest. That was somebody's child. I'm sorry. What do we not get if we don't get any justice? Can you repeat that, please?
Justice, no peace! No justice, no peace! No justice, no peace! No justice, no peace!
So, well, as far as the protests go, I have the same criticisms that I always have. First and foremost, just like I said, when I pointed out that some of you guys have made a conclusion off of this, they've already made a conclusion. They don't care what the evidence is at all. They don't care what was going on with that. And if the police wind up being justified in this because more evidence shows a hand on a taser, an aggressive moment, they're not going to care. They're still going to go back and they'll probably burn down Grand Rapids more, especially given the fact that it's getting warmer out right now. But as you know, my constant criticism of all these things is this is supposedly the side of the aisle that has the monopoly on all the musicians and all the artists and all the rappers, and they constantly use the same chant over and over again. I mean, you can't have somebody write you a new chant. Video shows what led up to the GRPD officer shooting. I think we've seen this already. From Rachel Van Gilder. Promising transparency and a thorough investigation, the Grand Rapids Police Department on Wednesday released a video that shows an officer pulling over Patrick Loyola and a long struggle between the two that ends with the officer shooting and killing Loyola. GRPD showed 4 videos at a press conference from a dashboard camera, a body camera, a doorbell camera, and a cell phone. News 8 is not using video showing the moment of death. You can watch the full GRPD press conference with the full video on the city's YouTube channel.
Avenue Southeast, the officer followed the vehicle and performed a traffic stop.
That's Google Earth. That's the dash cam. So I'm curious about this angle. Because I want to see this push that they keep telling me happened. Now let's back that up just a touch. See, and I don't know. That's part of the problem that I have with this particular video, is it didn't seem like there was any aggressive matter when the officer grabbed at Loyola. That's one of the major things that I have the most questions about, is that moment. Obviously, of course, I've got questions about the moment that the projectile exited the end of the barrel as well, but that seems to be what put all of this into motion, is what happened at that very moment. Because it does look like he was just going around to the other side of the car to go get a license, to go get something off of that. I don't know. It's an initial report, and I have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions.
Yeah, one running. Northbound. One running northbound. Additional units now Sun Griggs. You're running around.
This is video from the Grand Rapids police officer's body-worn camera.
Hey, stay in the car! Stay in the car! Stay in the car! Get in the car!
We've seen this video.
Dude, I'm stopping you. You have a license?
I want to see the ring camera. Okay, so that's what I want to see. What's happening here?
Neighborhood home surveillance system.
Yeah, that didn't really help either. I was kind of hoping that when we got the when we got to the point of showing the moment of the shot, maybe the ring camera would be coming from this yellow house over here, where we could possibly see whether or not the hand was on the taser at the time of the shot. Because I don't know. I really don't. But that's the information that I have right now. I'm sure furthermore will come out. I'm sure Candace Owens is going to dox this guy and his entire criminal record is going to be released. It probably already has. It probably dropped while I was on the air here right now. I'm sure we're going to know within a couple moments every single time this guy has had a traffic stop, every single time this guy is illegally parked or anything else like that. And Charlie Kirk will come back and say that just because one time he parked in a handicap zone, he deserved to have this happen to him. But I don't know. I can't say whether or not this shot was justified, just on the footage and the angles that we have. But that's where I'm at. All right, we're almost an hour in, and we've done one story so far. All right, let's go talk about Brooklyn. Suspect in Brooklyn subway train shooting called in the tip that led to his arrest, sources say. Was he trying to get the reward money so he could use it to post bail? This is CNN, so we've got a library of people that wrote this one. From Bryn Gingras, Shimon Prokupex, Pervez Shalwani, Artemis Mashtagian, Lorelei, Christina Swewila, Eric Levinson, and Mark Morales. The man suspected of shooting 10 people in a subway train in Brooklyn on Tuesday called in a tip to Crime Stoppers that led to his capture on Wednesday, 2 law enforcement sources told CNN. Frank James was arrested without incident by patrol officers in Manhattan's East Village neighborhood on Wednesday afternoon, officials said. James called in the tip and told authorities he was at a McDonald's on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, the sources confirmed. He essentially told police he saw his face in the news and knew he was wanted, the sources said. He told the operator he'd be inside the restaurant charging his phone, but could not provide his phone number. A senior law enforcement source said the call dropped moments later and was followed by a 911 call from another person who said they had spotted James. One of the 2 sources told CNN. Patrol officers arrived at McDonald's but did not see him, the source said. Just down the block, they came across a bystander who flagged James to them. The senior law enforcement source said James was in custody by roughly 1:40 p.m. Eastern Time, about an hour after he made the call. James is suspected of setting off smoke grenades and firing a handgun 33 times on a crowded N train traveling toward 36th Street station in Brooklyn's Sunset Park neighborhood. The attack left 29 people injured, including the 10 who were shot, though none of the injuries appear to be life-threatening. We'll be talking about that. Officials said 5 of the victims were young people commuting to school. New York Governor Kathy Hochul said, "The motive of the shooting is not yet known. We will be talking about that in a moment as well." This gives me a lot more questions. This makes me question a lot of the narrative, and this does make me question whether or not this was false flagged. And there have been memes going around about this already. Whether or not this was at all false flagged to bring us to the point where we stop talking about the Lieutenant Governor, Brian Benjamin. Or stop talking about the poll numbers, or stop talking about a myriad of other things that are happening with this. Especially given the fact that he turned himself in. That just gives me more questions. That leaves me with more questions that I had from the start of this. From the New York Post. This is an op-ed. Miranda Devine writes out, suspect Frank James was spewing racist hate years before Brooklyn subway shooting. How Frank R. James, the apparent black nationalist arrested for Tuesday's subway rampage, how did he become radicalized? The social media rants of the 62-year-old suspect reveal a man consumed with hatred of white people and convinced of a looming race war. "Oh, Black Jesus, please kill all the whiteys," one meme says that he posted. He's not too complimentary about Hispanics, Asians, and his own race for that matter, and claims to have had long-term mental health problems. The 29 victims of Tuesday's shooting were a multicultural mix, as you would expect in a crowded rush-hour subway train. Police say James detonated smoke grenades before firing 33 shots on the Manhattan-bound N train. Police found a hatchet, 3 ammunition magazines, fireworks, and gasoline. It's a miracle no one was killed. It's a miracle, you say. Honk honk. It's so miraculous, honk honk, that nobody was killed. We actually have video of the N train right before all this happened. There's a photo of the N train right before all this happened. It's weird. But we don't know why he went off and did that. Crazy, right? But whatever his psychiatric issues, James sounds like very much like other ideologically fixated, identity-obsessed killers who have emerged since the BLM Antifa racial movement of 2020 and the hate speech it unleashed. Like Darrell Brooks Jr., who allegedly plowed his car into the Waukesha Christmas parade last November, and Noah Green, the Nation of Islam adherent, who rammed Capitol Police last April in a quick memory hold attack. James espoused the rancid, racist ideology of black supremacy, once known officially as black identity extremism, which we have been assured by the FBI and other legal experts does not exist. James posted material on social media linked to black identity extremist ideologies, including Nation of Islam, Black Panthers, Black Liberation Army, BLM, and an image of black nationalist cop killer Micah Johnson. White people and black people, as we call ourselves, should not have any contact with each other. Hold on, I just heard Stephen Ignoramus' ears pick up. James rants in one of hundreds of YouTube videos posted to a channel under the username Prophet of Truth 88, which police took a screenshot to identify him, and, by the way, subsequently has taken down, and which was removed from YouTube on Wednesday. In another video, he weeps over the news that Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson is married to a white man whom he describes as the enemy. Yeah, but the real issue with this is we have no idea what his motive was whatsoever. No idea. So, that's what we see coming off of that. This one. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this one because I have got my doubts and my questions, but the New York Times writes, and this is a former newspaper, by the way, why no one died when a gunman opened fire on the subway? Why no one died when a gunman opened fire on a subway that was crowded, who was a black nationalist? Why that didn't happen, you say? From Sarah Maslin-Nur. Inside the roughly 750 square feet of subway car on Tuesday morning, a gunman unleashed a hail of bullets firing at rush hour commuters at close range, captive victims. While 33 bullets were sprayed from his Glock, they wounded only 10 passengers. More than a dozen other people were injured, some of them choking on smoke from the two devices the police said Frank James detonated before he started shooting. So, we've got two smoke bombs that are meant to keep you from seeing what's actually happening here. 33 shots from a Glock. Man, I'd love to have that extended magazine. That's somehow jammed in the middle of this, and somehow, honk honk, nobody was hurt. Or killed, rather. People were hurt. We had 15 people watching, by the way. Thank you, guys. Thanks for telling friends. But honk honk, nobody died. It's just people got hurt. Police said Frank R. James detonated before he started shooting. As the police announced the capture of Mr. James on Wednesday, the city steadied itself after an attack that has no equivalent in the subway's history, and the release of more victims from hospitals underscored a remarkable truth. Not one person died. Honk to the motherfucking honk. I don't understand the physics of it. He's feet away from people with a firearm that is designed to kill people. And no one got killed, said Paul M. Barrett, the author of Glock, The Rise of America's Gun. I think it's either tremendous luck or a miracle. Or planned. Oops, did I say that out loud? In some ways, the city's been spared. There will be no memorial wreaths or votive candles laid at its 36th Street subway stop in Sunset Park, Brooklyn, where the attack occurred, and there will be no funerals to attend. Honkity honk, 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 motherfucking honk. So, yes, whether it was the result of fate, fortune, or a malfunctioning 9mm handgun or poor marksmanship, what became clear as details emerged about Mr. James, a 62-year-old with addresses in Philadelphia and Wisconsin, is how much worse the attack could have been. Honkity honk, 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 honk. So, yeah, we have got, again, a lot more questions than answers at this point from Fox 29. Brooklyn subway shooting. Federal documents describe Frank James's connection to Philadelphia. From Jennifer Joyce. Hours before the accused Brooklyn subway shooter Frank James was taken into custody, neighbors in a Philadelphia community who said they recognized the man being hunted by police were awoken by an FBI raid. The FBI confirmed to Fox 29 that law enforcement agents were at a home in the 1800 block of West Ontario Street for court-ordered activity. They did not say if the raid was connected to Tuesday's subway shooting in Brooklyn that left dozens hurt. Cell phone video shot from a property across the street shows agents with guns drawn piling into a Nicetown residence. Neighbors said they recognized the suspect, Frank James, after seeing his pictures in the news. And by the way, why have we gone from Frank Whitaker to Frank James? James was originally referred to as a person of interest in the hours after police say a person with a gas mask detonated 2 smoke grenades aboard a Brooklyn subway train and opened fire. Chief Essig says the keys to a U-Haul van, honk-de-honk-honk-honk, found at the scene with the suspect's belonging led investigators to the renter. The U-Haul, which authorities said was rented by James in Philadelphia, was recovered on Tuesday. So, let me see if I can get this straight. A suspect in a gas mask opened fire on a crowded subway platform during rush hour in New York City, in Brooklyn. Nobody was killed. His Glock jammed, and while nobody could have recognized him because he was wearing a gas mask, he just happened to drop the keys to a vehicle that was rented in his name. This is what you expect me to believe? Essig told reporters Tuesday that James had addresses in Philadelphia and Wisconsin. According to federal documents, agents raided James's temporary apartment and storage unit in Philly and found ammo for a 9mm, an AR-15, a taser, a high-capacity magazine, and a blue smoke canister. And he also had an address in Waukesha, oddly enough. Dude. I am having a real problem with this one. From the New York Post, subway shooting suspect Frank James may have tested smoke grenades at Brooklyn Airfield, according to a report from Aaron Steinbuch. With a big smile on his face, too. Police are reportedly investigating the possibility that the accused subway terrorist may have conducted a test run on his attack by tossing smoke grenades at Floyd Bennett Field in Brooklyn. After James was arrested Wednesday, the NYPD received a tip that the van, possibly a U-Haul, had been spotted in the area of the airfield the day before, and that someone may have been exploding smoke grenades, WNBC reported, citing law enforcement sources. But investigators told the news outlet that it was too soon to determine if the white vehicle and explosives were connected to the suspect in the subway attack. James is suspected of opening fire on a subway car in Brooklyn during Tuesday's morning rush, shooting and wounding 10 people and leaving another 19 injured. No, Chilaga, you got that wrong. It's the economy would be doing great if it wasn't for all that pesky inflation, remember, Jennifer Rubin? James was busted Wednesday by the NYPD in Manhattan's East Village after he called the police on himself. Well, again, way more questions than answers. From 6ABC out of Philly. Video shows FBI raid, Philadelphia Airbnb, where New York City subway shooting suspect stayed. Is that the video? No, there it is. There's the video. So, yep. That's where he was.
Man accused of carrying out that violent rush hour.
Shut up, you. So that's what we see coming from that. All right, what else do we got? Throw some music back up here. So, and I was very curious about this because apparently there's somebody else involved in this now with the turning in. I was to the understanding that this dude turned himself in, so I don't know why they're cheering another person, but Insider says, a New York City crowd gathered to cheer security camera worker Zach Tahan after he said he tipped off the NYPD to the subway shooting suspect. But he turned himself in. He called the police on himself. From Natalie Musumisi. A New York City crowd gathered and cheered on a local security camera installer on Wednesday after he said he tipped off the police about the whereabouts of Brooklyn subway mass shooting suspect, leading to the accused gunman's arrest. Zach Tahan, 21, told the crowd, which included multiple reporters, how he first spotted the shooting suspect in Manhattan's East Village and then notified the Newark Police Department. Police had launched a manhunt for James on Tuesday, who was formerly known somehow as Frank Whitaker, saying the shooting suspect fled the scene after firing 33 rounds at commuters on an N train on Sunset Park. Tahan said that he lost sleep as a result of Tuesday's shooting rampage that left 10 people struck by gunfire and more than a dozen others wounded, according to a video posted to Twitter by Gothamist reporter Jake Offenhartz.
I see the guy, he walking sidewalk like this. The guy, he killed the 7 people in Brooklyn. Like, I was 2 days I don't sleep, and when I see the 7 people die, I cannot breathe. Like, I cannot sleep too. Like, I don't like the life. Like, I want to try to work, I cannot, because this guy, he put me in trouble. Like, when he see the 7 people killed, maybe the 7 people have kids, maybe have family, maybe something like that. Like, and I see him, he have bag in his bag, and he was walking the sidewalk, and he put the bag in the street like this, and I see the people, guys, please, the people was walking behind him. I told him, guys, keep far from him. Please, this guy is gonna do something. Like this, people think I am crazy, like nobody tries to believe me. Like I told him, guys, trust me, this is the guy. And I see the police walking from over there. I told the police, this is the guy, he did that.
This is the guy. Samantha Zirkin goes on. Thank you, Zach Tahan. Zach caught the Brooklyn shooter. Zach speaks 5 languages and is amazing. Share some love for him.
Hi, how are you? What is your name?
I'm good. My name is Zach. I was working inside the store, and I was doing security cameras inside. And I see the guy, he walking from the screen. I see him from the cameras. So I thought, oh shit, this guy. Let me call the police. And I call him, and we catch him.
Zach, you are a hero. Thank you so much.
No problem. We try
you.
to make the people safe always, because the people is nice. The life is nice, you know.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you, Zach. Even though the dude turned himself in. Thank you, Zach, apparently. All right. And that's what we have on Brooklyn for right now. Let's go talk about what under any other circumstance would have been the top story for the day. From CNBC. Elon Musk offers to buy Twitter for $43 billion so it can be transformed as a private company. From Samantha Subin. Elon Musk offered to buy Twitter for $54.20 a share, saying the social media company needs to be transformed privately. A little over a week after first revealing a 9.2% stake in the company, Musk's offer values Twitter at about $43 billion. I invested in Twitter as I believe in its potential to be the platform for free speech around the globe, and I believe free speech is a societal imperative for functioning democracy. Musk wrote in a letter sent to Twitter chairman Brett Taylor and disclosed in a securities filing. And a reminder, by the way, that Elon Musk is in Iron Man 2 in Monaco. Tony Stark asks him how his electric jet is going and addresses him as Elon. According to Musk, the social media company needs to go private because it can neither thrive nor serve free speech in its current state. As a result, I'm offering to buy 100% of Twitter for $54.20 per share in cash, a 54% premium over the day I began investing in Twitter, and a 38% premium over the day I began before my investment was publicly announced. He wrote, "My offer is best and a final offer, and if it is not accepted, I would need to reconsider my position as a shareholder." Which means he's going to pump and dump, or allegedly going to pump and dump. Twitter shares jumped 12% in pre-market trading after closing $45.85 a share on Wednesday. The Twitter board of directors will carefully review the proposal to determine the course of action that it believes is in the best interest of the company and all Twitter stockholders, the company said in a statement. Musk first disclosed his stake in the social media giant on April 4th. He later landed a seat on the company's board of directors before reversing those plans when he realized that he couldn't just buy whatever he wanted if he was on the board by law. I kind of want to see this. And again, I don't necessarily care who owns Twitter. I mean, I can temper my free speech to a point that I can stay within TOS and not call people a bunch of names and not get suspended. Well, everybody else that I know gets suspended. I'm like the only person I know that has not had at least a 12-hour. I had a 4-minute suspension for calling myself a man whore once, and Twitter's robotic algorithm thinking that I called the original poster a man or a whore. And as soon as I said it was self-deprecating, the human looked at it and said, "Yeah, this is self-deprecating. You're clear. 4 minutes." I don't care who owns Twitter. I'm just here for the lulz at this point. Because the people who have been there, who were bullied in high school and now think that they, because of the privilege of both their ideology and the education that they have, think that they can go out and bully the people that bullied them. And now they're getting pushed around by an autist from South Africa. Get me some more popcorn, please. From the Daily Wire. Red-haired bobblehead now blames a Republican governor for raising prices on Americans. Yes, you heard that right. From Ryan Saavedra. White House Press Secretary red-haired bobblehead is now blaming rising costs on a Republican governor who implemented a new policy to combat the expected surge in illegal immigration into the U.S. as a result of the Brandon admin ending the use of pandemic-era policy that made it easier to expel illegal aliens. Greg Abbott ordered state troopers to conduct additional inspection of commercial trucks at the U.S.-Mexico border in response to the Brandon admin ending the use of Title 42, which will officially end in May. Federal law enforcement officials are now having to brace for dealing with up to 1,000 migrants per day in the U.S. southern border in response to the Brandon admin's decision. Bobblehead claimed Abbott's attempt to secure Texas' border with Mexico, something that the Brandon admin has largely failed to do, as evidenced by the overwhelming surge of illegal immigration that has occurred under Biden, released a statement on Tuesday morning that blamed Abbott for rising prices in the U.S. Except for one thing. See, this policy only went into place, well, it was only announced a week ago. It actually isn't even in place yet. This policy only appeared a week ago. You have a full year of rising prices at 11% on the wholesale market to explain for if you want to go back and start blaming somebody else for your problems. And this is the press secretary for the Buck Stops With Me administration. Come on, man! The buck stops here, okay? In a statement, Psaki claimed, Governor Abbott's unnecessary and redundant inspections of trucks Transiting ports of entry between Texas and Mexico are causing significant disruptions to the food and automobile supply chains. They are delaying manufacturing and impacting jobs and raising prices for families in Texas across the country. Let me circle back to that. Local businesses and trade associations are calling on Governor Abbott to reverse the decision because trucks are facing lengthy delays exceeding 5 hours at some border crossings. No, Peter, we're not going to talk about this right now. The commercial traffic has dropped by as much as 60%. The continuous flow of legitimate trade and travel at CBP's ability to do its job should not be obstructed. Let's circle back to Governor Abbott. Governor Abbott's actions are impacting people's jobs and the livelihoods of hardworking American families. Next question, please. So, yes, the buck stops with me, President Biden. Says it's all Abbott's fault. Beto O'Rourke responds to the policy of increased truck inspections at the border. This ought to be good. From KENS5 staff. Beto O'Rourke gave a news conference on Tuesday where he responded to Governor Abbott's plans to send migrants to Washington, D.C. and increase truck inspections at the border. The Democrat punching board for governor spoke from a facility in Pharr, Texas. He called on Abbott to stop his policy, saying it hurts the Texas economy, among other things. On Wednesday, Abbott unveiled a plan that quickly made national news. Texas would place state troopers in riot gear. The riot gear might be just a little bit excessive. To meet migrants at the border and bus them straight to the steps of the U.S. Capitol in D.C., where he said the Biden admin will be able to more immediately address the needs of the people that they're allowing to come across our border. Later, after that news conference, the governor's office clarified that the program is completely voluntary for migrants, and he would happen only after they've been processed and released by the Department of Homeland Security. Abbott also directed DPS to conduct enhanced safety inspections of vehicles as they cross international ports of entry into Texas as part of his response to the ending of Title 42. O'Rourke said the policy was straining an already strained system. Brah, Abbott is killing business and the Texas economy with the stunt he's pulling right now, O'Rourke said. It does nothing to improve the security and safety of Texas. Hell no! I'm going to take this policy out of place. All it does is hurt the economy of Texas and the United States, brah. O'Rourke asked a business owner to share his struggles with importing produce, electronics, and other goods. Normally through this port, when things were working the way that they should, we were importing about 1,000 loads of produce a day between all of us and about 1,000 loads of electronics and auto manufacturing, other manufactured goods, said Joe Aravello, a customs broker and owner of the cold storage facility where the news conference was held. Well, that's recently stopped. That seems like a conflict of interest, doesn't it? Both a customs broker and an owner of a cold storage facility. I have questions. We're living through a nightmare. We're already suffering through a supply chain from the pandemic and trying to regrow the business. And Abbott adds a policy that adds 45 minutes to the inspection process. So that's what we see off of that. Unfortunately, this is archived, so we can't pull up the tweet quickly, but we've got more O'Rourke stuff from the Texas Tribune. Beto O'Rourke knocks Biden for ending Title 42 without a plan to deal with the influx of migrants. And this is the person who said, we are going to tear down that wall. From James Berrigan. Gubernatorial candidate Beto O'Rourke knocked the Biden admin for failing to give border communities a plan for dealing with the number of migrants at their doorstep before saying he'll end the pandemic emergency health order that allows federal officials to turn people away at the border next month. Well, he would probably have to go back at that point. By the way, I don't know if Horatius can put a link in or not. He might have to throw it in the Discord. because the Nightbot might kill it. But I can see it, and I can probably link it back. If the Nightbot kills it, I can link it back. I can copy it and link it back, because I can still see it. Let's see. It does not make sense to end this until there's a real plan, brah, and the capacity in place to handle these and address those that come over, O'Rourke said in an interview with the Texas Tribune on Tuesday. I've yet to hear a plan from the Biden admin, brah, to address the dynamic we will have on the border once Title 42 ends. This is a guy who has, by the way, turned every policy position on his head because he doesn't care about any of this. He doesn't care about what's going on with this. What he cares about is power. Whatever is going to get him the most power the quickest. And it's one of the dangerous parts about both not only Democrat but Republican politicians as well. That they don't care. They will pay lip service to whatever they think will make them the most power, and then turn around and just do whatever they want with the power. From the New York Post. First migrant bus from Texas arrives in D.C., drops them blocks from the Capitol. The first bus filled with a dozen immigrants from Texas arrived in D.C. on Wednesday, 1 week after Abbott vowed to transport migrants in the U.S. illegally to the nation's capital, as immigration crisis along the southern border grows. The bus arrived in Washington around 8 a.m., parking blocks away from the Capitol, in front of the building that houses Fox, NBC, and C-SPAN. The 24 migrants exited the bus one by one, except for family units that left together, according to Fox News, whose cameras captured the arrival live. Officials cut off wristbands before the migrants were released. To help local officials, because communities are being overwhelmed by hordes of illegal immigrants who are being dropped off by the Biden admin, Texas is providing charter buses for those illegal immigrants who have been dropped off in Washington, D.C., Abbott said in announcing the move last week. We are sending them to the U.S. Capitol, where the Biden admin will be able to more immediately address the needs of the people that they are allowing to come across our border, the Republican governor added. The Texas Division of Emergency Management is leading the effort to transport the migrants from federal custody to D.C. Each bus will have the capacity and supplies to transport up to 40 migrants. The charter buses were dispatched last week to border communities in the Rio Grande Valley and Terrell County and picked up migrants who volunteered to be transported. It was not immediately clear how many more transports were scheduled to arrive in the nation's capital. So, well, again, I don't know. For the most part, I think if they're trying to come back in and import more people, I think this helps them, but, you know, we'll see what happens with this. More red-haired bobblehead news. Red-haired bobblehead responds to the first busload of migrants arriving in D.C. It's so nice the state of Texas is helping them. From Carlos Garcia. Do we have video? Whenever it's Psaki, we always have to see if there's video. Here is the video of Psaki's response.
The first bus of migrants arrived in D.C. today. Texas Governor Greg Abbott made good on his promise to send migrants to the president's doorstep. I think you previously called it a publicity stunt. Is that still the view of the White House? Can you give us any reaction to this busload of migrants arriving here in D.C.?
Well, these are all migrants who have been processed by CBP and are free to travel, so it's nice the state of Texas is helping them get to their final destination as they await in their outcome of their immigration proceedings, and they're all in immigration proceedings.
And then on your statement this morning, you had mentioned in that statement that the truck inspections have led, that Governor Abbott has been conducting, have led to disruptions for the food and automobile supply chains and rising prices for families. So is the White House blaming Greg Abbott for inflation?
Well, I think we're trying to state the facts of what his another political stunt that we're seeing happen and the impact of it. And what we're seeing is right now, factually, there's over $1 million in trade crossing over the U.S.-Mexico border every minute. These actions are impacting people's jobs and the livelihoods of hardworking families in Texas and across the country. That's not a political statement. That's a statement of fact. I'd also note that what we're seeing with these unnecessary inspections of trucks transiting ports of entry between Texas and Mexico are significant delays, which are resulting in a drop in commercial traffic of up to 60 to 70% in some ports. And that is significantly impacting the local and regional supply chains to the point that trade associations, officials, and businesses are calling for the Texas governor to reverse this self-inflicted gridlock. I'd also note that CBP officers are very good at their jobs, and Texas DPS does not need to replace CBP at the southern border. CBP has conducted a record number of drug seizures with more than 900,000 pounds of narcotics seized just in FY 2021. So the economic impact here, something that people of all political stripes are calling for a reversal of, is something that we think is significant and we felt should be shouted out.
Oh, it's so nice of Abbott to help these people. Well, you start getting them 40 at a time, and suddenly you have a race war on your doorstep. Well, I got plenty of popcorn, I guess, from the Twitter thing, so I'll go back and sit back and watch that too. Pair in a row from Fox. Actually, we're going to skip that one because we talked about that one already from the Daily Wire. Let's talk inflation then instead. Wholesale prices surged 11.2% in March, highest level on record. And by the way, they couldn't get the reply, so try again. This is from Megan Henney. Wholesale prices surged again in March as strong consumer demand, pandemic-related supply chain issues, continued to fuel the highest inflation in decades. I think that's what that says, but, somebody archived a couldn't get more replies right in front of all this. The Labor Department said Wednesday its Producer Price Index, which measures inflation at the wholesale level before it reaches consumers, surged 11.2% in March from the year-ago period on a monthly basis. Prices grew by 1.4%, an uptick from February when the gauge increased by 0.9%. Economists surveyed by Refinitiv expected a producer inflation to rise by 10.6% on an annual basis, and you think that's a good thing? Are you fucking kidding? And 1.1% from the previous month. Core inflation at the wholesale level, which excludes the more volatile measurements of food and energy, increased 0.9% for the month, following 0.2% increase in February. Over the past 12 months, the core prices were up 7%. Diesel prices, which soared 20.4% in the month, led to the cost increases in March. Over half the broad-based increase in March can be traced to a 5.7% jump in prices for energy costs, the Labor Department said. 11% wholesale, which is 11% increase on the cost of making goods. And people are still trying to say that it's just the greedy companies posting record pockets and putting in their fucking pockets. Fuck you. From the Daily Mail. A little bit of a review on an old story that we have here. Outrage as North Carolina Medical School backs woke medical student who tweeted about deliberately injuring patient for mocking her pronoun badge. See this? This is why I don't go to the doctor. Because I don't have the right politics to go to the doctor, apparently. From James Gant. A North Carolina medical school has backed a woke student who tweeted about injuring a patient for mocking her pronoun badge that said she/her. Wake Forest released a statement, including groveling commentary from Kishel del Rosario, which suggests she would be back on round soon. I pray to God I never ever get injured in North Carolina. Ever. I don't even want to get injured here. The trainee medic sparked outrage last month after she implied that she had deliberately injured a man who mocked her by missing his vein during a blood draw. She now claims she did so accidentally and says a more qualified medical professional made the second blood draw attempt in line with existing procedures. That's not what you tweeted, you dumb cunt. Why is everything so stupid? Why must we do stupid things in this society? I was told we'd have hoverboards and flying cars by now. But many have queried whether Del Rosario is lying. Why would a nursing student who is all the way through making her rounds ever lie about something that she tweeted about that might cost her her job? Claiming she did injure the man on purpose, only to backtrack to try to save her career. Weird! Wake Forest said an investigation found Del Rosa's claims on Twitter did not reflect the incident, adding that she followed the guidelines correctly. They did not comment further on how they had established the facts and whether they had taken Del Rosario's words about the true intentions at face value. Please take the stupid out of my head. Please take the stupid away from me. Make the stupid stop. Please. That's all I ask. And by the way, if you see this face in a medical facility ever, run. Thank you, Daily Mail, for giving us the face. If you ever see this face in a medical facility, run. Because unless you go along with her woke ideology, hey, you might get blood drawn twice. And the medical facility will just back her up. From The Blaze. NPR predicts these 10 Senate seats might see a party flip! In all caps. From Blaze TV staff. We're actually going to go look at these seats first, and then we'll look at what the Blaze had to say about them. And when we look at the NPR side of this, we'll talk a little bit like this because we're pretentious enough to go and talk like NPR people do. Because we're upscale and bourgeois enough to go talk like this. And make sure that everybody knows that we only listen to classy things like NPR. But let's look and see which seats that they have called, and let's look at some of the analysis of this. And while the Blaze is reviewing this, I will give you some of my analysis as well. And this, by the way, is surprisingly mixed. Coming from NPR, I thought this was going to just be all the R's that are just going to end their careers right here. This is surprisingly mixed. Absolutely. So, there are 10 top Senate seats. Pennsylvania, which is an open because Toomey is not going to run for re-election. So this is Lieutenant Governor Fetterman or Dr. Oz. Georgia is going to be Warnock, who even NPR says is doing a shitty job and probably isn't going to make it. Nevada, Cortez Masto might flip to R according to them, which, given Nevada, I'm actually not surprised about. Wisconsin, Ron Johnson. Funnily enough, even in a statewide race, Johnson's favored to win. I hope he doesn't, because he's an asshole. Mark Kelly over in Arizona might flip back to red. New Hampshire, Hassan. North Carolina is going to be open, but currently incumbency from Republicans. So this would be either Ted Budd, Pat McCrory, or Mark Walker. Ohio is open. Looks like This is a pretty crowded one. Who's coming out of this? Portman's announcing retirement off of this. So they're going to run either Tim Ryan or a number of different people. Rubio, of course, is going to be on this list because they got to try to knock him back down. And then Colorado's Bennett. All right, let's look at what the Blaze has to say about these 10 seats. Number 1, Pennsylvania. Republican Senator Pat Toomey announced that he would not run for re-election, so the seat is open. The big news here came over the weekend when Dr. Oz got the endorsement of President Trump. Dr. Oz is facing off against a guy who went to West Point. However, there's a lot of pushback against this endorsement because there's not much evidence that Dr. Oz is a conservative. Well, neither is Trump. I hate to tell you this. Pennsylvania, they did, I think, dehonk their election, though. So this one is a toss-up for me. Georgia, Warnock. With Georgia trying to dehonk their elections as well. And Warnock is surprisingly unpopular. Georgia, I think, is going to flip. I think that one's going to go back red. Nevada Democrat Senator Catherine Cortez Masto first took office in 2017. Nevada's a purple state. Republicans have a good chance here. Ron Johnson, which that's my home territory. Number 4, Wisconsin Republican Senator Ron Johnson first took office in 2011. Once a blue state, Wisconsin is now clearly purple thanks to President Trump bringing a new contingent of voters out. Wisconsin is now very competitive, and Johnson connects with the traditional conservative crowd and MAGA crowd. Johnson found a sweet spot in between and has a good chance of winning this race. Johnson is fighting an uphill battle in this race. And I actually kind of hope that he is not the nominee after the primaries because of his promise that he wouldn't run for a third term because his big pet project in 2016 was term limits. And he said he wouldn't seek a third term because of his solidarity with term limits. I think he's facing a more uphill battle. And also given the fact that our senators, it's a statewide race, are chosen not by the state, but by Madison and Milwaukee. I think the Blaze is being a little bit optimistic about that one. Mark Kelly took office in December of 2020 following a special election in a deep, deep red state that honked and honked and honked and honked again in 2020. And yeah, they're talking about Kyrsten Sinema's independent streak, which is a lie and an act, versus Mark Kelly basically not doing anything. I think they might flip that one. New Hampshire. Democrat Senator Maggie Hassan assumed office in 2017. Her current term ends in 2023. New Hampshire is interesting because Hassan isn't super strong for the Democrats, but anything could happen. And New Hampshire is also currently working through the Free State Project, which is adamantly against the current crop of Democrats and their current look at their outlook of the world. I would probably throw that one red if I had to pick right now. By like 62% in odds. Close down the middle, but just slightly to the red. North Carolina. Election will fill the Senate seat held by Harry Burr, who first took office in 2005. Republicans should be able to keep the seat. I think so. North Carolina, I think so. Ohio, Josh Mandel and Mike Gibbons are neck and neck in a packed Republican environment. That's going to depend mostly on who comes out to the top, because Tim Ryan has a lot of name recognition. Marco Rubio is not going anywhere, not in Florida. Not in a statewide race in Florida, I'm sorry. And Democrat Senator Michael Bennet assumed office in January 22nd of 2009. His current term ends on January 3rd of 2023 and is up for re-election. Stu believes Republicans could flip this seat, but it would be a long shot. But in a way of elections, Stu said Republicans could pull it off. I don't know. I think the Colorado seat's going to stay blue. I think that Bennett is going to be reelected. And then there's, of course, a podcast that went along with that as well, if you guys want to hear the full analysis of Stu. But, you know, I look at this every day too, so I do thank you for bearing with me on my analysis of this. Let's grab one. We've got just a couple more here, and then we'll head out of here for the day. Let's take one from Ron Helton's favorite publication from his favorite politician, from Bloomberg. Billion-dollar Ponzi scheme DC Solar CFO gets 6-year prison term. From Bobby Burnsom. I'm waiting for the Bloom butt to show up in the chat, because I know it's coming. A defunct California-based solar company's chief financial officer was ordered to prison for 6 years for his part in a billion-dollar Ponzi scheme that attracted big-name investors, including Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway Incorporated. Robert A. Carmen started as DC Solar's accountant and went on to become its controller and CFO before the company went bust in the wake of the FBI raid in 2018. At his sentencing on Tuesday in Sacramento federal court, U.S. District Judge John Mendez ordered Carmen to pay $624 million in restitution, according to court records. DC Solar hooked investors on the idea that there was a fortune to be made in the market for its trailer-mounted solar generators, but in fact, demand for the generators was virtually non-existent, and DC Solar was using money from the new investors to pay off the old ones, according to the U.S. Justice Department. Yeah, you can't do that. That's against the law. I remember one of the late Charlie episodes of 2.5 Men where Ellen tried to do that. And somehow didn't wind up going to jail for it. That's the first time I'd heard the term Ponzi scheme. But yeah, you can't do that. That's against the law. Carmen of Clayton, California, oversaw circular funds transfers and provided false financial information to investors, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office in Sacramento. DC Solar owner Jeff Karpoff was sentenced in November for 30 years in order to pay $790.6 million in restitution. And see, this is one of a lot of people like the idea of green energy. I like the idea of green energy. I think it's cool. I think electric cars are cool. But I don't think we're at the point that we have the technology for them to be sustainable. I'd like to see the technology get there where they're sustainable, and then people have the choice and see who keeps buying the gas and who buys the electric. I think it'd be an interesting market experience, or experiment rather. But the EPA people don't want to do the experiment. They just want to force and mandate you to give up your gas car and only buy electric. I would honestly love to see what would happen in the free market between the two. I really do. Because I think that would be cool. And again, electric cars are cool. Technologically, again, we can't sustain it yet. There's going to be improvements in battery technology that are done up by the free market that I think are going to improve that down the road. Then it's the same with solar. We're going to find new compounds and new ways to do solar that won't make the land go fallow if an accident should happen to happen. But people are taking advantage of the fact that people want it and demand it and try to make the government mandate it in a Ponzi scheme to go back out and do something like this. So, yeah, that's where we see off of that. Some Ukraine news. I know we don't do a lot of that anymore. Russia says flagship of Black Sea fleet badly damaged by blast. From Pavel Polychuk and Alexander Kolshunkar. Russia on Tuesday said the flagship of its Black Sea fleet was seriously damaged and its crew evacuated following a fire that caused an explosion, as the Ukrainian official said the vessel had been hit by missiles. The incident on the Moskva missile cruiser occurred after an ammunition on board blew up. Interfax news agency quoted the Russian Defense Ministry as saying, "As a result of fire on Moskva missile cruiser, ammunition detonated," it said in a statement. Maxim Marchenko, governor of the region around the Black Sea, port at Odessa, said in an online post that the 12,500-ton ship was hit by 2 missiles without providing evidence. Neptune missiles guarding Black Sea caused very serious damage, he said in an online post. Reuters was not able to independently verify either account, and, well, that's been the story of the Ukrainian invasion since February 24th, the day that the invasion started, and even in the lead-up, as people tried to decide whether it was a will they or won't they sitting up on the border, is that Ukraine is giving out their version of propaganda, including human rights abuses, and how horrible it is, and how dare you question the narrative. And Russia is giving their side of the story, saying, we will win this time, just a little bit more. Just you wait and see, we steamroll at this point. Everything is propaganda. The Chans are telling you that Russia is totally winning and has the right to win. The mainstream media is telling you that Ukraine is winning, totally has the right to win. Everybody's telling you what side's in the right, and as we can see off of this, the propaganda is just everywhere, and there's no real way to know what's actually going on in the country at this time. Just propaganda. And people trying to sell you a narrative and hope that you believe what it is that they're trying to feed you. And the last one, before we do Thing That I Like and Thing That I Hate, comes to us from Pittsburgh City Paper. This was almost Thing That I Hate, and then I found something that was even more egregious. Bloomfield Starbucks unanimously becomes first unionized location in Pennsylvania. From Jordana Rosenfeld. The Bloomfield Starbucks store on Liberty Avenue has become the first Starbucks location in Pennsylvania to win a union election. The National Labor Relations Board counted the mail-in ballots honkety honk, 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 finding the store's 20 partners voted unanimously in favor of unionizing. Honk! We are so proud to become the first union Starbucks cafe in Pennsylvania, says the Bloomfield Starbucks organizing committee. We're happy to carry the torch in Pittsburgh. Our win today is a win for baristas across the Commonwealth and all workers in the Wait, is Pennsylvania a Commonwealth? I thought the only 2 Commonwealths in the country were Virginia and Massachusetts. I guess I didn't realize Pennsylvania was one too. I knew Mass and I knew Virginia. I didn't realize Pennsylvania was as well. And all workers in the struggle to organize, we urge Starbucks CEO to do what's right and sign the Starbucks Workers United Non-Interference and Fair Election Principles. The Bloomfield location was the first Steel City store to go public with the intent to unionize in February of 2022. In the 2 months since the Bloomfield partners filed for and now won a union election, they have been joined by 5 additional stores across the Pittsburgh area. Nationally, more than 200 Starbucks locations throughout the U.S. have now petitioned for union elections, with many additional stores actively organizing to prepare to file for elections. This is hilarious to me. It really is. Now again, my feelings on unions being aside, and I would actually have to see if this is actually a grassroots union, because remember, I was in favor of the union that didn't have a corporate representation in Staten Island. What Amazon does to that store, that's up in the air, that's to be determined. They might just shut that back down. But that particular union is not corporatized. That's not going through the AFL-CIO, who is making billions off of these people and people like this, and turning around and donating it back to Democrat causes. Pushing lobbies to make them have captive audiences that can't go anywhere else. I don't know if this is going to be, because the article doesn't tell us whether or not this is an AFL-CIO endorsed and accredited union, or if this is just a bunch of people who hired a lawyer and said, we're a union now. And naturally, I'm going to be more in support of one than the other, because I have always been in a position where if people come together and say, hey, we want to put our money together, buy a lawyer, and be able to tell our employer, hey, if you don't do something, we're all going to walk out at once. I think that's a good idea. But that's not what the corporate union side is doing. That's not what all these unions with the big number after them, that's not what they're doing. What these people are doing is saying, oh, well, hey, your contract says you're not allowed to protest or picket or to cross the picket line to strike or anything else like that. But hey, don't worry. We're going to get you a quarter every 3 years that you work here. Oh, you want another raise between the 3 years? Oh, no, sorry, your contract says you can't do that. That's what the big corporate guys are doing. And I find it funny, too, by the way, that a lot of these, like, especially because I worked for the UFCW locally here twice, and on both chances, there was no opportunity to strike. In fact, if you struck, you were found in void of the contract and terminated, because obviously if you're not under the contract, you're not allowed to work at that particular company in either case. So my big fear with this, well, not my big fear, I kind of know this is going to happen, and this is going to drive the prices of the Starbucks up. They're going to lose their business as more and more people go over to Dunkin', whether it be for union ideology or for the fact that it's cheaper to go over to Dunkin', and this will be another store that shuts down. But I do want to see, that's my biggest question, is whether or not this is a corporate union or if this is a bunch of people with big stars in their eyes and idiocy who decided to go hire a lawyer together. All right. And with that, that's the news of the day, and we are going to finish off the day with, like I said, thing I like and thing that I hate. Before we do, there was one other thing that I wanted to do, because now we have a bunch of people here, and point out, again, what I had said at the top of the show is that the announcement is in, and sometime, I'm thinking September, I got to talk with KTZed, because I think she's going to be a big part of the organizing side of this. But I have announced officially that we are doing Suicide Prevention Telethon number 2, second annual. It's not going to be in April because I had some issues happening this year around the April time where I couldn't exactly jump back out and get into a new telethon. I thought that I was going to be moving last month. So obviously it's not going to be in April anymore. We're not going to do it during the summer because getting people to sit down when they should be out doing outdoor activities in the summer is almost impossible. But coming up here in probably about September, when it starts to get a little bit cold, when people are the kids are back in school, stuff like that, we are holding, I'm going to sit in this chair right here for 24 hours and talk to as many people as I can, get as much entertainment, as much music. I want to try and get some stand-up acts too. Instead of just me sitting down and interviewing somebody, let somebody get up there and do some stand-up and deliver something there and get some live chat off of that. But just, I know stand-up is a little bit hard because of the audience interaction, because you can't hear or see the cheers or laughs or laugh track or anything else like that. But I'd like to get some more stuff like that, somebody to come off and do a monologue or something with that as well. Monologues are fun online. I've done numerous of them. I do one every time I do Across the Board. But yes, we'll be doing that. Date is to be determined, but we're doing it again. If there's somebody that you want to see play some music, if there's somebody you want to see interviewed, if there is somebody who can do an effective half-an-hour monologue that's funny and entertaining, tell me who that is. Drop their @ if you can, and tell that person you're nominating that person as well. Because we've got to fill 24 hours, and I know in the wee hours I'll probably play some Stardew Valley in the beginning again. But definitely come back in here. This is a great cause. I know we're going to get Gina Raimondo back up here to tell us a little bit about where the money is going. So I'll reach out to her and let her know this is happening. But definitely. That was one of the most rewarding days of my life. And then, of course, sleeping through that following Saturday. Dead, because I hadn't slept real well the Friday before. I'm sorry, the following Sunday. I hadn't slept really well the Friday before. I did 24 hours on 2 hours of sleep. But even still, it was the most rewarding. And hey, maybe this time, perhaps this time if I do this, I can actually remember it when I interview Joshua Smith. So, dates to be determined. Announcements will come on Contemporary, on KTZed Redemption, and on the Twitter and the Discord as well. So go and check that out. And if there is anybody Let me know. Get them out there. I will bring as many people on as we can in those 24 hours. Maybe we'll get Elaine back too. Maybe she'll come back and do another segment like she did before. I gotta reach out to her and talk to her about that. But let's do this, and let's do a thing I like and thing that I hate. So we've been talking about some of the things that I do for entertainment. I show you what I watch on Netflix, on Paramount Plus. I show you the music that I like. I haven't talked about my video game habits in recent weeks. And I think that's a crime, because that's actually one of my favorite things to do. So, as most of you know, when I do stream video games, which has been fewer and further between lately, but when I do video game stream, we go out and play Fallout 4. Which I believe is an amazing game, and just the way that they wrote it. Now, I have a lot of questions about Fallout 4. I would think that after 200 years, because that's how long it's been since the bombs fell, society would be much, much further along than what it is in the Fallout 4 universe. I would think that it'd be much, much further along, but regardless of that, I mean, to look at what's done here and what the difference is between the original Fallout and the scattered series of tribes that are scattered across Southern California, and the semi-thriving economy of the Boston area in Fallout 4 is a very stark difference. It's a lot of fun to see. It's a lot of fun to watch. And the storyline that goes with it as well. Taking big parts out of American history and retelling them, showing history repeating itself. The synths, which stand in for the slaves. The Underground Railroad, or just the railroad in the game, that tries to help get synths out to freedom. The enslaving group that tries to hold them down, the Institute, the Brotherhood of Steel, which unfortunately, in spite of my fandom of the Brotherhood of Steel, kind of acts as the Klan in this particular installment. And the Minutemen, gathering in Minutemen Park in Concord, just to try to help people get by going through the wastelands and trying to live in the post-apocalyptic world. The writing in this game is incredible. I do have some issues with some of the things that are going off there, and the balance, and the fact that, you know, honestly, it's a little bit too easy. Especially with the way they handled the power armor throughout this. It's to me, it's just a touch too easy. That's one of the biggest complaints that I have about that. And if that's the biggest complaint you have about a game, then you've made a pretty successful game. So let's watch the trailer for Fallout 4. And I know we're running up on the clock here, so we're probably not going to watch the honest trailer, but let's watch the release trailer for Fallout 4.
Everything can change in an instant, whether or not you're ready.
This wasn't the world I wanted, but it was the one I found myself in. This time I'm ready. Because I know war.
War never changes.
I have a question. The only question that matters. Would you risk your life for your fellow man, even if that man is a synth?
Beneath the Commonwealth, there is a cancer, known as the Institute. A malignant growth that needs to be cut before it infects the surface.
They're the real enemy, not the Raiders, not the super mutants, not even those tools over in Diamond City.
Don't shoot! I swear, I'm not a synth. For God's sakes, we're family!
This is ridiculous. I want the truth, McDonough.
Protect the people at a minute's notice. And decide our own future.
We're a man out of time, but all's not lost.
This campaign will be costly. But in the end, we will be saving humankind from its worst enemy, itself.
So where is it, huh? This institute. How do I get there?
Haven't you been paying attention? You don't find the Institute. The Institute finds you.
Let's go, boy.
A lot of fun. A lot of stuff in there. There's, according to Bethesda's website, there's almost or over 400 hours of gameplay included in this game too. I'm not nowhere close to that much gameplay, but there's over 400 hours worth of gameplay in here. That's incredible. That is a massive amount of content. And that's before they put the DLC in, which they really integrated that very, very well with the story as well. You know, in the other installments, like Fallout 3, Fallout 4, with the DLC, they were basically giving you a new game on the same platform and taking you out of the main map, but they were able to intertwine and integrate the major DLCs in this game back into the main map and everything else to go. And I know that there is a lot of criticism for Fallout 4 for the Build Your Barbie Dream House settlement system. I'm not going to lie, I kind of like that. I think that's kind of fun. So, with that, if you haven't checked it out, pick it up, see if your system can handle it, or your console if you go console. But see if your system can handle it. Highly recommended from me. A lot of fun. A lot of story. A lot of great writing. And if you can't pick it up or you don't have time to pick up a new video game, hang out with me for one of my game streams and watch me play instead. Alright, and now for a thing that I hate. NBC News reports something that we've seen already once. Citibank is doing this. Apple is apparently doing this. I didn't realize that before. And now Yelp is going to be doing the same. NBC News reports Yelp to offer U.S. workers abortion travel benefit. The company said it will provide travel benefit to its U.S. employees who need to travel out of states like Texas and Oklahoma that have restricted access to abortion services. From Reuters. Yelp Incorporated said Tuesday it will cover expenses for employees and their dependents who need to travel to another state for abortion services starting next month, making it the latest U.S. company to offer similar benefits to its workers. The crowdsourced review platform for restaurants and other businesses will provide travel benefits for its U.S. employees who need to travel out of states like Texas and Oklahoma that have restricted access to abortion services. As a remote-first company with a distributed workforce, this new benefit allows our U.S. employees and their dependents to have equitable access to reproductive care regardless of where they live, Miriam Warren, Yelp's chief diversity officer, said in a statement. Other Texas-based companies have pledged to offer similar support to their Texas-based employees. Citigroup, in March, started covering travel expenses for employees who go out of state for abortions, becoming the first major U.S. bank to make that commitment. Governor Stitt on Tuesday signed the bill making it illegal to perform an abortion in the state except in medical emergencies, penalizing those who do with up to $100,000 in fines and 10 years in prison. Look, this is the free market finding a solution to a problem that's there. I hate to come down into some support off of this, but this is the free market coming in and finding a solution to something that's there. And my free market solution, especially like in the case of Citi and Apple, is that I'm not going to be spending money with them anymore. But I can't use Yelp any less because I've never used Yelp. And I hate the fact that this has to be a thing. That they have to come back out and do this. And yes, it is time to walk away from some of these companies that don't go align with your values. I'm glad that they are coming out here and telling you exactly who they are when they do stuff like this, instead of coming back and hiding like they usually do. But they don't care about people like us who are boycotting them or choosing not to use our services. All they care about is the organized protests that come out and systemically make people go back and boycott and get rid of things, which is, of course, who they're pandering to. And as I said, and I talked a little bit about this, talking about the restaurant, which I didn't put the story on the stack, but the restaurant in Pennsylvania that had the sign out in the door that says, if you voted for Joe Biden and these policies, I don't want you in my restaurant. I didn't vote for Joe Biden, but I probably would not go into that restaurant. I have a real problem with companies that wear their politics on their sleeve like that come out and tell you who they vote for, what their politics are. That's why I don't shop at Walmart. That's why I don't eat at Burger King. And I love Burger King, but I won't give them my money. Plain and simple. I don't use Yelp, so I can't ungive them my money. I will never touch anything at Citigroup again. Apple, fuck that. So, the fact that this is happening it makes my skin crawl. The fact that there are companies that think this is a good idea. And they can brazenly get away with it too, because, all people are going to do with them is just like us. Stop using them. So, that's what they say. I think Yelp got deleted in this live stream from one person's device just a moment ago. It's never been on my device. Like I said, I've never used it. I make my own decisions on what things look like. I don't go on star ratings or anything else like that. But that is the thing that I hate. Alright, let's head out of here for the day. 2 extended shows, but it is what it is. I'm off today, and now I am going to go back out and, do what it is that I need to do while I'm on vacation to see if I can't start writing my own schedule again. But let's head out of here for the day. So, thanks everybody who came by, chatted in the live chat, kept us honest, kept us on point. We had a nice big conversation going on about what had happened both in Grand Rapids and in Brooklyn as well. So, happy to see that. Looks like we probably reached out. We did hit 17 people watching today, so our next goal is 20. Let's see if we can't get 20 people in chatting tomorrow when we read live chat. And by the way, the notebook, I actually have to go up in the kitchen and get the notebook again. But the notebook is ready for your name, so make sure that if you guys just lurk throughout the day that you got at least one message in, so I can see that you chatted, and I can come back and say thank you at the end of the program tomorrow, which we will do so. At the end of the program tomorrow, we'll read the names of everybody who chatted in the live chat with a heartfelt thank you from my heart, and read some of the live chat you guys have to say tomorrow. Hopefully it won't get us thrown off of YouTube, but if it is sufficiently stupid, spicy, bigoted, hateful, or otherwise, it will raise the intellectual of this program and must get read on the air because we need a lot of raising in this program. So come back and join tomorrow. Do your worst for the live chat. We'll see what happens with that. And we'll see how many of these I look at and say, I can't read that. Susan is watching. Otherwise, we will see you over the weekend and on Monday as well for more contemporary and KTZed Redemption, which we already have a lot to talk about for that as well. I'm going to go throw my headset on. We're going to go do some real estate lessons, and we will see you here tomorrow for more contemporary. And until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.